Welcome to Retirement Talk, the show that gives you wealth strategies that actually work. Today we're excited to share our show with you, and we're going to be talking about 4 basic key principles of investing. We're going to Investing 101, right? Going back to school, what are the 4 main things that we need to know about setting ourselves up to be a successful investor? So the first one, and is probably the most basic, know your risk tolerance.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it sounds like a great idea. And I think everybody knows they need to know their risk tolerance. But how in the world can you even find that out? And what kind of questions need to be asked in order for you to determine exactly for your situation, your age, and everything that's about you internally, like what you can stand and what won't, all of a sudden put you over the line and you just can't take it anymore. What's the right risk tolerance? And there are great programs out there. We have them in our business, and there are places that you can go on the internet and just Google, find my risk tolerance. And they're actually pretty good. That will ask you a bunch of questions and you answer those honestly, and it will kind of zero in on, are you conservative? Are you very conservative? Are you moderate plus? Are you growth? Are you high risk? And what can you really tolerate?
Yeah, and I would say, to put some numbers behind it, anyone between 20 years old and 15 years away from retirement, let's put it that way, 20 years old all the way up till about 10 or 15 years from retirement. You should be more growth focused on your investments if you're accumulating wealth to one day be able to retire and rely on that money for income. So you want to be a more growth focused investor. I met with a couple not long ago. They were pretty successful, and I'm looking at their portfolio, and they're 42 years old, and they had about 30% of their money sitting in bonds. 42 years old, 30% of your money sitting in bonds, rolling over, playing dead. That 30% really was never and is never going to do enough to provide the rate of return that say, a growth investor can. And when we say growth investor, too, I don't mean go put 100% in stocks. To me, that's going to be high risk, a little more speculative. You really need to know what you're doing if you're doing individual stocks. Just some index funds like the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, things like that. You want to be way more growth focused, and I'd say up to 100% of your money all the way up till 10 or 15 years. Then the risk tolerance should start scaling down as you get closer to those retirement years, to a point that you're comfortable. But I would say even when you get close to retirement, you don't want to have more than 40% of your money conservative, 60% in growth. But stay growth focused till that time and start scaling back about 10 to 15 years away from retirement.
Yeah, good point. And Dan, know your fees. It's like a hole in the money bucket. You're pouring money in, and then the fees can take it out. And very few of you know exactly what you're paying. Now, when you go to Dillard's or you go to Amazon, you look at an item, and then maybe even before you dissect what the item is and the quality and everything, you look at the cost. What is the price? What is the price? What am I paying? And does it seem like a fair deal? And yet when it comes to investments, you don't know what your fees are. So you need to work with someone or find a way that you can figure out exactly what you're paying, because just a 0.25%, 0.5%, 1% more in fees than you should be paying can literally mean hundreds of thousands of dollars less at retirement.
Right, and the technology that's out there today is really, really cool to help people easily know what those fees are, but you have to do the work to do it. But to your point, 1 or 2%, we see fees in the range of 1, 2, 3% a year. That really eats into the total return that you get to keep. You may be earning a great return, but if you don't get to keep all of that, or you're giving a good portion of it away, that's really going to reduce the total return as you're getting ready and saving for retirement one day. And then selecting suitable investments. There is a plethora of investments out there that are really there to grab your attention and try to steal you away from core investing. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have some money there, but when it comes to the majority of your investments, you want things that are suitable for your risk tolerance. If you're okay, you have a palate to be able to stomach 5 or 10% in something more speculative like a cryptocurrency, like individual stocks. If you're out trying to find the next Microsoft or Amazon, a small portion of our investments for that. Outside of that, make sure you're selecting suitable investments, and that means investments that match your risk tolerance.
And just warning you away from these get-rich-quick schemes, and sometimes they, come cloaked in an investment that sounds so good. And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So, again, it may be boring, but investing sometimes when it's boring is the best kind.
That's
to
right.
Get you to where you want to go. And then the fourth one is periodic rebalancing. You can't just always, forever, set it and forget it.
Right.
You do need to do some rebalancing. Things change in your life. Things change in your situation, in your age. And before you know it, you're 40 years old, Dan, and then the next thing you know, you're 60 years old. So it can happen quick.
Yeah.
And so you need to, and the older you get and the closer you get to that retirement age, the more you need to know that you're balanced correctly.
Well, and naturally, if you're diversified and you have multiple investments and funds in your portfolio, they don't all perform the same.
Right.
And so over time, your risk and the weighting of risk is going to shift naturally just due to the difference in performance numbers. So looking at the portfolio, rebalancing periodically, at least once a year, I would say, maybe more for some, but once a year, go in, rebalance those funds, make sure the weighting and risk tolerance is appropriate. And those are 4 main key principles: know your risk, know your fees, select suitable investments, and then rebalance those periodically. Well, we hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to see more episodes like this, subscribe to the channel, or you can see us at retirementtalk.com.